1 minute.
Because of the audience. The atomic clock in Denver, Colorado. So still 6:29. All right. Good evening and welcome to your City Council meeting. Today is Tuesday, July 20, 2021, and it is 6:30 p.m. Regular meetings are held on the first and third Tuesday of each month in the council chambers at City Hall. Madam City Clerk, roll call, please.
Thank you, Mayor. Councilmember Jennings.
Here.
Councilmember Rains.
Here.
Councilmember Sharma.
Present.
Mayor Pro Tem Genoway.
Present.
And Mayor Minigar.
Present.
Thank you. We have a quorum.
Thank you very much. This is the public communications portion of the agenda for closed session only. Madam City Clerk, do we have any requests to speak forums?
No, Mayor. There's none.
Very good. We're going to move on now to our closed session meeting. At this time, I would like to have our city attorney, Enos, to read us into closed session, please.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Members of the council, we have one item of closed session. It's conference with labor negotiators pursuant to Government Code Section 54957.6. City's designated representative is Justin Martin, Deputy City Manager. The employee organization is Orange County Employees Association. That concludes my announcement. Thank you.
Very good. We will now recess to closed session. Good evening. I would like to call our regular city council meeting back to order at 7 p.m. Mr. City Attorney Enos, is there any reportable action from the closed session?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Direction was given to the city's representative, Justin Martin, and there is no final and reportable action at this time. That concludes my announcement. Thank you.
Thank you very much. At this time, I would like to ask Chaplain Serena Cummins from the Orange County Sheriff's Department to provide the invocation, please.
Dear Heavenly Father, it's a privilege to come before you openly in prayer and to worship you individually as we choose. Your word tells us wherever two or more are gathered in your name, you are there with them. So we thank you for your presence here this evening. As the City Council meeting begins, please fill this place with your incredible spirit and pour out your wisdom, your grace, your mercy, and respect among these people. We thank you for the leadership that you've set in place and for the members of the community that are here this evening. I pray specifically for the city's law enforcement officers and all first responders and ask for your hand of protection to be over each of them as they continue to serve and protect the city of Laguna Niguel. May our gratefulness and appreciation of one another be evident here this evening. It's in your name we pray. Amen.
Amen. Thank you very much, Chaplain Cummins. Now, I would like to ask my favorite Boy Scout Troop 772 to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance, please. Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which stands one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you very much. I would like to invite my city council colleagues into the well for a photo op and for other presentations. Thank you very much. Who's the troop leader? Can join us. Everyone. You can introduce yourself.
Oh, I didn't know I had to do this. Hi, everybody. Michael Yu. I'm an assistant scoutmaster with Troop 772. And these are our scouts who volunteered today to come here and do the flag ceremony for the city council.
Which school you go to? What grade?
Hi, my name is Tyrese Yu. I'm going to Capo Valley High School and for my freshman year.
Hi, my name is Braden Barrett, and I'm also going to Capo Valley, and I'm also a freshman.
Hello, I'm Zachary Williams. Now I am going to call again, home of the Sharks. Miguel Hills. There it is. And I'll be going to 8th grade. Obviously, I should know the name of our school better.
I'm Hayden Hallowell. I'm going into 8th grade at Aliso Viejo Middle School.
I'm Zane Foster, and I'm going to be going to Dana Hills, and I'm going to be a freshman.
I'm Cole Cook, and I will be going to Santa Margarita as a freshman.
Thank you, sir.
Very good. Thank you very much. The last photo op, last call. Now you can dismiss. Our first presentation this evening is presentation of city tiles to outgoing youth committee members. At this time, I would like to ask the following students to come forward for the presentation. First, Nick Derosel. Nick served on the youth committee from 2017 through 2021. Second is Emily Guilfoyle. Emily served on the youth committee from 2019 through 2021. Next, Skylar Neve. Skylar served on the youth committee from 2017 through 2021. Very good. Next is John Reed. John served on the youth committee from 2019 through 2021. Thank you. Next is Katie Root. Katie served on the youth committee from 2020 through 2021. You young ladies and gentlemen are the future leaders of this great city, county, state, and this country. And we are very proud of you. As you know, it's very difficult to get into the youth committee because of the stiff competition, but you've made it. We are all very proud of you, and I'm pretty sure that you're going to be doing excellent in your future endeavors. And I wanted to ask my city council colleagues, specifically the two youth committee liaisons from the city council, to make some comments.
Well, you guys, it was an honor to work with you, even though it was a short time, newly elected, but I know the years that you served and the ideas you brought were really inventive and really awesome, even during a pandemic. So very proud of you. Keep up the good work as you guys go off to college. Enjoy your time, and very, very proud of you. Thank you for serving our city.
Well, it really has been both a joy and a privilege to serve as the co-counsel liaison to the youth committee. It's amazing to watch what our high school students do. So I had the joy of watching some of them start as a freshman and watch them develop leadership skills and bring their ideas to fruition for the rest of the youth in Laguna Niguel. So that's the youth committee's purpose, is to create programs and opportunities for their peers. And these 4 high school graduates did an outstanding job. We are so very proud of you. Wish you the very best wherever you go in your future endeavors, your future educational plans. But we want to see you come back here to Laguna Niguel. And we just love you and send you with all the best wishes of our city. Thank you.
Any other?
I just want to say congratulations, great job. I have enjoyed listening to the updates from the youth committee that we had the opportunity to listen to, and the incredible work that you've done in our city and the very creative things that you have all brought to our city. So we thank you, and make sure you give good tips to your future folks that will be taking over in your spots, and stay in touch with them and keep encouraging them to do well as well. So good luck for your future.
I'll just keep it short. Thank you very much for your dedication to the city and to your peers. You never know where this is going to bridge to next in your lives, but I hope it's great for all of you. Thank you.
I want to say one more thing. One more thing, because I've worked with these students now for 7 years. Well, not you, you haven't been in high school for 7 years, but I've been liaison. And I want to tell you, one of the students here, Nick, was one of the co-creators of our Pizza with Police, which was a phenomenal program where our high school students and our deputies get together and have pizza and socialize and talk and get to know each other. So it was a phenomenal program. And in fact, that program brought back to the city, we say bring back the hardware. We won an award from the Association of California Cities for that inventive program. So these are the kinds of things that these students bring to the other students in Laguna Niguel. So thank you again.
And by the way, it's a tradition in the city council. This is my 7th year that I'm in the city council serving with Mayor Pro Tem Elaine Genoway. We always turn the mic to each of you to talk about your experience serving in the youth committee, and last but not least, to tell us about your next step, which school you're going to go to, and what are your future plans.
Hi, my name is Emily Guilfoyle. I served on the youth committee for the past 2 years. I started as a junior, and on the youth committee, I was mainly in charge of the social media initiative with 4 other of my peers. So really this past year, we were able to work on things like the Togetherness Initiative, where we created posts that were good for our community and brought us together during the pandemic, and tried to create a community online. And with my other peers, we were really able to create events online and digitize them this past year, and we were able to successfully create a lot of events. And as for my future, I am attending UCI in the fall, and I will be studying language science.
Hi, I'm Nick Drossel. I served on the youth committee for 4 years. I started when I was a freshman. So really, the youth committee experience has just been amazing, not only to learn from such great mentors from the city, but also to work with teens who are so passionate about helping other teens in the community. So that's been a real blessing for me. One of the great things is that with our group specifically last year, even though we went through the pandemic and everything and we were all online, we still found ways to engage with the community. One of them being the Songs for Seniors event that we did complete video format. So that was kind of one of the best things I think we got to do. So just an overall great experience, and I just learned so much, and I can't thank everybody enough. And for my future plans, I'm going to be going to the University of Utah. I'm going to be studying mathematics and statistics in the Honors College.
Hi, my name's John Reed. I've been on the youth committee since 2019 when I was a junior to now. The youth committee is special in the sense that it just gives a platform like no other for teenagers like ourselves to have an impact on our community. And like Nick was saying, even though this past year we've been throughout COVID and a pandemic that's really hindered our abilities to assist the community, we haven't even stopped innovating. Even just this year around Earth Day, we decided to create a program and a subcommittee called the Environmental Awareness Subcommittee, in which we had a week-long set of activities to make up for the fact that we did not have a proper Earth Day celebration last year surrounding the Earth Day of this year. So it's important that just as youth, we're able to keep on innovating despite everything that's going on. And honestly, we wouldn't have been able to do it without the tools given to us by the City of Laguna Niguel and all the resources and backing that we had from this amazing platform. In terms of my future, I will be attending UCLA in the fall for a major of astrophysics.
Hi, I'm Katie Root, and I just served on the youth committee starting in 2020, so just this past year. And I was only able to serve during the pandemic, but even despite that, I think the youth committee as a whole was able to create so many amazing opportunities for the youth in Laguna Niguel, and we did so many amazing things. I worked primarily in the social media subcommittee with Emily and others, and I think us as a subcommittee were really able to connect with the teens and also adults throughout the city with our social media. And we were able to just really reach them, even though we were separated by the pandemic. And overall, I'm just really grateful for this experience. I learned so much about leadership and teamwork. Yeah, and for my future, I'm going to be attending UC Santa Cruz studying biology.
Just the mere fact that you guys had awesome presentations says a lot about your experience here. So thank you.
Very good. I must add that my two kids went through the youth committee, and I guess my daughter's there with Nick sometime back. And we are very proud of what the program does and the city council liaisons, what they do. So it's extremely important for our citizens to know the value of the youth committee in this city that is truly educational. And I can attest to that because of my own two kids. Very good. I guess we're going to have one big photo op, and then we're going to move on to the next presentation. Again, on behalf of the City of Laguna Niguel, congratulations to the class of 2021. All right, our next presentation this evening is a proclamation recognizing Ms. Denny Christensen on her 28 years of service with Capo Unified School District. At this time, I would like to ask Ms. Denny Christensen to come forward for the presentation, please. All right. All right, let me read the proclamation. Whereas Denny Christensen has been an enthusiastic and devoted educator for Capo Unified School District for the past 28 years, serving in many roles across CUSD, and whereas Christensen began her career in September of 1994 as an English teacher at Aliso Niguel High School. In addition to her role as an English teacher, Denny also served as a basketball coach, which I didn't know, and school newspaper advisor, whereas in 2004, Christensen transitioned away from the classroom and into an administrator role, serving as assistant principal at both Dana Hills High School, and Capo Valley High School. And whereas, after serving as assistant principal, Christensen became principal at Capo Valley High School and later at Aliso Niguel High School. In her role, Christensen cultivated a great environment for both learning and teaching, and forged a positive and supportive relationship with community members and local organizations to ensure that all students receive the quality education that they deserve. And whereas throughout her tenure, Christensen has served as an exemplary role model to her colleagues, fellow teachers, administrators, and most importantly, the students. She has dedicated her life to serve, and whereas upon Christensen's retirement, she can be proud of the tremendous impact that she has had on the community, resulting in a legacy that will continue to resonate not only within the walls of her schools, but also within the minds of students, parents, teachers, and alumni throughout our city. Now, therefore, I, Mayor Fred Menegar, on behalf of Laguna Niguel City Council, do hereby commend Ms. Denny Christensen for her 28-year career as a public educator, administrator, and wish her the best in her retirement and all future endeavors.
Thank you so much.
I've been taking video, sorry.
The parents of Aliso Niguel love you. We're all here to represent you right here.
Here, shake these two here.
Oh,
Shake
oh,
these
shake
two.
them,
Yeah.
shake them, shake them, shake them, girl, shake them.
Uh-huh.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Before I turn over the mic to Denny, I wanted to ask my city council colleagues. I start off with Councilmember Kelly Jennings.
Well, Denny, so much to say. I am the beneficiary of you leading our children, and I am forever grateful. I saw your leadership and your love and your kindness that you gave to my kids. And I'm sorry, I will never forget who you are, the impact you've made on our community, the friends I have that were under your leadership as well. They're forever changed people because of you. And I will treasure our time on the sidelines of football games. And I treasure you. I so appreciate you. I love and adore you. And thank you. Thank you so much for all you've done for our kids and our community.
Hi, Denny. Well, congratulations. I did not have the privilege of having my children at your school. However, I did have the privilege of running into you at a local business once, and we chatted for quite some time. And I can say that your character, integrity, and the way that you led was really incredible. Your reputation precedes you, and we're very proud of everything you've accomplished in our community. We're lucky to have you as a resident here in our city. And I hope you have a lot of fun now doing things that you've always wanted to do that you were too busy to do in the past. So congratulations.
Well, I hope I don't start crying, but no, Denny, 3 of my children have been through your high school, and they've all made it to adulthood. So thank you. But yeah, but you have dedicated your professional career to the children of our community. And not many people can say that. So thank you so much. This community loves you so much. We feel your impact. You have a thumbprint on each of the students who have come into contact with you or been through your school. You have influenced and guided your students in ways that parents can't just because we're the parents. But you have done that, and you have been a positive influence. You have developed so many leaders throughout the years through them watching you and listening to you and going by your example. So God bless you. Thank you for dedicating yourself to our children, because our community and our country is forever enriched by it. So thank you, Denny.
So over the years, I've come to become a fan of not ending a sentence in a proposition or preposition, I should say. So thank you for passing that on to future generations. You know, in a world of fast texting and quick messaging, the skill set of English is so often lost that to sit back and really understand of what it is that you're trying to communicate and communicating efficiently and clearly, as was evidenced by so many students that were up here tonight, it's a skill set that is fleeting and one that we need to hold on to. So thank you for your many years of dedication and for the many generations of people that you've touched in our city. Thank you.
Thanks everyone for coming out tonight. I really appreciate it. I see a lot of really friendly faces out there. Some of my favorite parents, students, neighbors, and everybody. I first fell in love with Laguna Niguel in 1971 when my dad thought that he was going to be transferred to the Ziggurat building. And it turns out that didn't happen. But I remember saying, I think I was 9 years old at the time. I remember saying to my mom, I'm going to live in Laguna Niguel someday. And got married to my husband, Mark, in 1985, and we moved here in 1987. And we've loved it. And excuse me, gotta remember to breathe. My experience in Capistrano Unified, I started teaching late. I spent about 10 years in the private sector in consumer products and aerospace, and realized late that I was meant to be a teacher, and that was the best decision I ever made. And getting to start and end my career in Laguna Niguel at Aliso Niguel High School was just a tremendous honor. I love that school and I love this city. Thank you.
You know, you have some fans here tonight. So if we could get a picture, if there's any of Denny's students, her parents, the ladies in the back row who are cheering her on, the ones in the teal t-shirts, and our school district representatives. Let's get a group shot of Denny's fan club so then she can show her mom, Shorty, and her sister, Kathy, all the people who came here who love her. There's one of your first students at the high school. Hey.
And it's always good to be able to be in the back.
Or the sides, or kneel. Yeah, cheerleaders can kneel. Whatever you want to do. Oh, yeah. All right. Okay. Okay, who's going to frame the photo? We've just got a lot of people here who don't know where to stand. Mayor, do you want the microphone back? Yay.
Congratulations. Thank you so much. Good to see you all.
Oh, would you like to?
Thanks, everybody.
Absolutely. Oh, you wanted to? Sure. This is the best time. Sure. Over the mic to Martha McNicholas, the Honorable McNicholas from Capo Unified School District.
I put in a yellow card, so I'm Martha McNicholas. I'm a 32-year resident of Laguna Niguel. I live at 23 Malibu. Okay, all right. So I got that part in. But I serve as a trustee on the Capistrano Unified School District, as do my fellow trustees, Gila Jones and Krista Castellanos. Our president, Judy Bullicus, could not make it tonight, but I've been authorized on behalf of our board president to thank you for your outstanding leadership to our schools and your service to our students. And we absolutely wish you the funnest retirement ever.
Thank you so much.
So, as you can tell, it's very emotional, right? So whenever I
give these speeches at awards, it's kind of overwhelming, as you can see by many of us. And maybe one of the reasons is because as an educator myself, I often think about that day that you walk out of the school building for the very last time, right? And you hope as you're closing the door that you've made a difference. So, and truly know that you have, Denny. I just want to say a few things, and I had to write them down, and I only had my cell phone, so I'm like, okay, it's going to work, right? On a personal note, I've had the privilege to serve the Aliso Viejo community as a trustee, but also as a parent. And my children attended Aliso when Denny served as principal, and we're still there. So as we continue forward, it's hard to put into words the gratitude and appreciation we all feel. Thank you for your service, your dedication, your passion you've given to our children over the years. Public education is demanding, it's challenging, as you know, every single day. But you've always handled it with amazing grace. And oftentimes, as educators, we don't see the difference until we've left the building, right? So it often reminds me, I love this Greek proverb, which I wrote down: a society grows great when old men and women plant trees in whose shade they know they shall never sit. So thank you for all you've done for supporting our children, our families, our entire community, and please know you've made a difference. So enjoy this next journey. You deserve it.
And to conclude this presentation, on behalf of the entire city of Laguna Niguel, I wanted to thank you for your dedication and service to our remarkable city for the past 28 years. Good luck with your retirement.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you so much.
Very good. Yes, yes. Well, that concludes our presentation. So we now move on to public communications. Any person wishing to address the city council will need to complete and present a gold-colored request to speak form to the city clerk. These forms are available on the counter that is located near the door to the council chambers. Please be aware that the time limit will be 3 minutes for each person to speak. To allow equal time for speakers, minutes may not be given to another speaker. You may have another person read your written statement. Madam City Clerk Gomez, besides these two request to speak forms, I presume I have no other forms.
There are no others, Mayor, and you only have to call the one public comment. The first one was the presentation from Martha McNichols.
Yes, and the second one is Craig and Jill Anderson.
Yes.
Public communications. Please come forward.
Britt.
Welcome to the City Council chambers.
Thank you. And after that lovely educator presentation, I'm a 24-year educator, so that was lovely to hear. And I hate to bring a negative subject, but here I go. My name is Jill Anderson, and I live at 23681 Bluefin Cove, which is relevant to my topic today. We're having a little difficulty that I'm hoping you guys can help me with. I've tried to go through all of the proper channels with CR&R, and I'm getting nowhere. Again, as an educator, I've spent the last year and a half teaching 5-year-olds online, and that was very difficult, so I haven't messed with it in a year and some months. But when the green waste cans first came out, I was concerned. We live on a street that is double loaded, but they only pick up trash on one side. And so I called and said, oh my gosh, where are these cans going to go? There are 12 houses on our street, which means 36 cans. And on one side of the street, there are eight attached on two sides condos. So you can imagine the amount of space or lack thereof that there is for these cans. So I called back then, and I talked to somebody at CR&R who said, call the city. And then I called the city and they said, call CR&R. So I dropped it and COVID hit and here I am again. So I've spent the summer contacting CR&R with zero response. Every day I get somebody new, every week. I'm trying to do the appropriate things. I call, I give them a week, I call again. They promised me today, the final promise came today. The operations director, Craig King or Robert Allen, who are the names I'd like somebody in the city to follow up with, we'll call you back in an hour. 3 hours later, I called and said, I'm kind of done. I'm trying to be polite, but I think I'm just going to go to the city council tonight and talk about CR&R and what you guys can do with this issue. They sent somebody out. They called him a supervisor. It was the regular driver. He was supposed to contact me that day and take a look at things. I asked him about it. He goes, I don't know. Do I have? Oh, yeah, I have a note here. He was already done with the whole street. He looks back. He goes, looks okay to me. I said, did you notice there are 2 driveways blocked, 2 walkways blocked? And I counted the cans because I needed someone to understand and help solve the problem. I think it's a great idea, the green cans, but they didn't look at how this is going to impact the streets. All I want for them to do is take 2 extra minutes, drive down the other side, and let everybody put their cans in front of their house. It's a neighborhood war happening. This morning, cans were out by 6:05. Our pickup day's tomorrow. So everyone jockeys for position. And the driver who came out said, well, that'll be more work for me. I said, well, if there needs to be more people hired, that's someone else's job. They will hire people to do what they need to do. But it's a mathematical impossibility to fit 36 cans on one side of the street on Bluefin Cove. I even measured the cans. I looked at all the spaces. I'm trying to be proactive and problem solve, and I'm not getting anywhere with CR&R, so I hope you guys can help us.
Before I turn it over to our city manager, Tammy Letourneau, number one, thank you very much for your service to our city. I know you because of my kids many, many years ago. Number two, based on the contract that the city as a municipal corporation in the state of California has had with CR&R, they have 2 designated individuals just to take care of these issues, these items with the residents. I'm very surprised about the lack of miscommunication, but we are going to take care of it because this is not acceptable in this first-class city. I want to turn it over to our city manager.
I echo what the mayor said. This is not acceptable. And my management assistant, Kevin O'Connor's right here, and he's going to walk out with you. He's going to get your contact information,
Beautiful.
and we're going to solve this problem for
Thank you so
Hopefully
much.
by tomorrow.
Thank you.
Really not just our street either.
No,
So it's such an issue.
we'll fix it.
Thank you so much.
It's done. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
All right, the public communications is now closed. We will now move on to our consent calendar items 1 through 8. Are there any items that need to be pulled for comments or discussion?
I would like to pull 6 and 7, please.
6 and 7 by Council Member Jennings.
7.
7 by Council Member Rains.
6 and 7, please.
6 and 7 by Council Member Sharma.
Same.
Oh, the same with me too. That's very interesting. The same with me. And I know on item number 5, our city attorney needs
Thank
to
you.
recuse himself.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I just wanted to, for the record, indicate that I've recused myself in my official position from involvement in item number 5. Thank you.
Very good. So noted. So for the remainder of the items.
Move the remainder.
Okay, it was moved by Council Member Sandy Rains and seconded by
Second.
Mayor Pro Tem Elaine Genoway. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye, it passes unanimously. Now we get to item number 6. I start off with Council Member Kelly Jennings.
Thank you. It's just really a comment. I just want to thank the Mayor Pro Tem for pointing out the having the Investment Banking and Audit Committee review the city investment policy regarding the Orange County investment pool and raising that limit amount. So it gives more flexibility to staff to be able to put money in wherever there's a bigger growth, a higher growth. So the Investment Audit Committee also appreciated that. So thank you very much for your diligence and bringing that to everyone's attention.
Council Member Sandy Rains. Oh, okay. Mayor Pro Tem Elaine Genoway.
Okay, well, I also wanted to thank Director Hendrickson for taking this to the Investment Banking and Audit Committee. I appreciate your having them look at it. And this provides greater flexibility for you and where we're putting our funds. The LAIF and OSIP are very similar, but their yields right now are different. Right now in May, LAIF, which is the Local Area Investment Fund, their yield was 0.315, but the Orange County Investment Pool was 0.503. So that is a significant difference for our city. So I'm glad we're able to do it in such a way that we still have your ability for oversight as far as how much is going into each fund, but we do have the flexibility to go to the higher interest earner. So thank you.
Councilmember Sharma.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I want to initially thank Eric Hendrickson, Finance Director, for bringing this to the IB&A committee. During the conversations, the focus has historically been on the dais, the average weighted yield, which is always illustrated here. And the average weighted yield is the balance between both of the pools of investments, both OSIP and LAIF. What I did notice in this presentation was you've introduced information about weighted maturity. And I think it's important for everybody to understand that even though one portfolio is slightly outperforming the other portfolio right now, a lot of that's due to the weighted maturity of those portfolios, in that if you have a portfolio that necessarily hasn't turned over and have to invest in today's market interest rates, it's slightly going to outperform the other. When the presentation was brought to the Investment Banking and Audit Committee, there was no foreseeable moral hazard by increasing the allocation that we could attribute to one or the other portfolio. It just gave the city more flexibility to be able to mitigate downside decreases by allocating a higher percentage to a different portfolio as necessary. It doesn't mean that it's going to continue to outperform the other portfolio, but it gives us that flexibility to move back and forth. Thank you.
Very good. I don't want to repeat my city council colleagues' comments. I wanted to move this item. Any second?
Second.
All
right.
Madam City Clerk, who was first?
Councilmember Jennings was
okay.
first.
Okay, the second goes to Councilmember Kelly Jennings. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. The item passes unanimously. Now we get to item number 7. I wanted to start off with Councilmember Sandy Rains.
Thank you so much. This item covers a couple different things. The item that I wanted to speak on is one of the things that we did during the COVID-19 was to do a pilot program to expand outdoor seating for our restaurants and businesses in the city. And I'm glad that we're moving forward on extending this pilot program, but I also wanted to ask if the city could take some steps in figuring out a way where we could streamline the process, or this could be something that we could do on a permanent basis down the road, where the businesses could have a process that's streamlined and simple, where they can come to our city and actually create an outdoor seating area for the long term. So that was my comment on this. Thank you, and I appreciate the fact that we're continuing the pilot program.
So that process exists currently. I'm going to let actually John Morgan kind of describe that in detail, but the good news is we don't have to make any amendments because we already have the red carpet streamlined service.
Hi, excuse me. Hi, good evening, Council. So currently we do have an administrative process for our restaurants if they're interested in creating outdoor dining areas. To give you a little background, that used to be a fairly cumbersome process. It did require public hearings, and that uncertainty certainly, I think, would dissuade some applicants. But over time, in working with our business community, getting their feedback, and also through some prior code amendments that were approved by council, we've been able to streamline that process considerably. So usually what we're looking at is parking, site circulation, and then kind of design and aesthetics. And usually in working with a restaurant or shopping center, we usually are successful in finding amicable solutions. And we try and accelerate that process as quickly as we can, especially for new businesses. So we try and, again, and fast track that and streamline it as much as we can.
Can I ask just a quick question? So based on what you just said, is there like some of our neighboring cities have actually gone and done permanent structures where they're going to be there permanently? Is that the process that you have available to businesses now as well?
We do. So for example, for new restaurants, I can point to the new Callow restaurant and Snooze. So that was just baked in with their use permit process. And so that didn't cost any additional time for their reviews. And then for some existing restaurants, sometimes they will determine that they need more outdoor seating. And so usually in collaboration with the shopping center owner in the business, we try and figure out where's the appropriate location. We have to take into consideration, oftentimes they'll have beer and wine service. So we have to meet ABC requirements, health department requirements, ADA. And so oftentimes we're serving in the role of kind of shepherd through these processes. And usually for us, it's trying to ensure that we get, if it is going to be a permitted outdoor dining area, just good design. So maybe incorporating some landscaping, shade structures, some aesthetically pleasing outdoor furniture. So that's been kind of our focus. And, one of the things that we did when we were considering making these code changes, it was we clearly wanted to be as competitive, if not more competitive, with our process so that we can recruit and retain quality restaurants.
Thank you so much.
Sure.
Mayor Pro Tem Elaine Genoway.
Hey, thank you, Mayor. This item on the agenda is to terminate the local emergency ordinance for COVID-19, and it also extends the pilot program for outdoor dining, which Development Services Manager Morgan was just talking about. So this, we're terminating the local emergency ordinance because to bring peace to our residents. I know we've had a lot of questions about it, and we feel like we're getting back into, and hopefully back into the normal way of life. Our emergency ordinance is different than other cities, and I really credit our city staff for bringing to us what needed to be done, but not going any further, because some cities had mask ordinances in there. They had a lot of other things that we didn't need because, number one, our health department is the Orange County Health Department. So we do need to follow what they say. But all our emergency ordinance needed to do was in this emergency to give the city manager some purchasing powers. So now that the pandemic is over, I'm being very optimistic, we can terminate this order. And that doesn't mean if for some reason we needed it again, we couldn't bring it back. We could. But I think it's for our residents, this is what they've been asking for. They want to bring some normalcy back to life. And we were able to do it with this. But we're also able to maintain one of those benefits of what we learned during the COVID-19 pandemic. And that is that our restaurants and our residents love the outdoor dining. So we're going to, that's why we do have we're extending that pilot program so that it does not end with the termination of the emergency ordinance. So I appreciate our community development department for taking a look at that and seeing how we can further the outdoor dining enjoyment by our residents, but also bringing business to our restaurants, because that's very important for them. So, and that's all I have on this, Mayor. So I just think it's to bring peace to our residents. Thank you.
Councilmember Sharma.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. When I was growing up, I had a unique privilege of studying in the south of France. And one of my comments coming to Laguna Niguel was, what an amazing microclimate, very similar to the south of France. The memories that I bring back with me have a lot to do with the outdoor dining experience and just watching public go by and being engaged with the community. This ordinance initially was brought forth by the COVID, and I call it the COVID, right? The ability of our business owners to extend to outdoor dining has now opened their square footage up at no additional cost to them to the capacity of bringing more customers into the singular location, which yields more opportunity for them to make money and take care of their families. I would wholly like to see this a permanent fixture in Laguna Niguel and the city to take leadership on this within the county. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilmember Kelly Jennings.
Thank you. I will not repeat what everybody said, but I echo everything that they are saying. I really appreciate the pilot program. I really appreciate you guys, the forward thinking, because I know we were the first city to implement something like this. So thank you for that. Thank you for letting our businesses be successful and stay successful even during COVID and pandemic times. So thank you. I'm in agreement with terminating the local emergency ordinance since all the tiers are gone and we are moving forward. So I really appreciate that. So thank you very much.
Very good. I'm also concur. I concur with my city council colleagues on the same issue. I just have one quick question for our city manager. Before coming here to the city council meeting, I had a bunch of phone calls from some business owners in the city, and they wanted me to get a clarification with regard to the potential sunset of the pilot program. As you know, the ABC's eighth notice of regulatory relief is going to be sunset, I believe, December of 2021, correct? So these business owners were asking me that what's going to happen to that in conjunction with the temporary use permit that we are granting to our business owners. So where are we going to be as a city on that?
We do not have a timeline set because we believe this will phase out. We have two things going on right now. There are businesses that are working with community development to work on permanent structures, and then we have some that are phasing out and going back into their brick and mortar. This will phase itself out over time. So we did not put a timeline on it, is to not be so strict and be more flexible with our businesses. This will take care of itself over the end of the year. And if there's some that need to trickle into next year because they're working on different plans, we will work with them, because we want to make sure that they can sustain themselves.
Very good. So noted. This item was put on the agenda by Mayor Pro Tem Elaine Genoway and I. So I wanted to ask Mayor Pro Tem Genoway to make the motion, and I will second the motion.
Okay, well, I move that we adopt Resolution 2021-1364.
And I second it, and all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. It passes unanimously. Moving on to, let's see, I guess we're done with the consent calendar items. All right. We are now on public hearing item number 1. Any members of the public that would like to provide comments on this public hearing item are welcome to do so. Alternatively, you may wish to postpone your comments until such time that it is known whether project adjustments are proposed and this item returns to the city council. I presume, Madam City Clerk, we don't have any new comments on this public hearing item.
No, Mayor, there are no comments.
Very good. The public hearing section is closed. Now I wanted to ask our
Actually, we're going to turn it over to Community Development Director Orduña to give a brief presentation.
Very good. Thank you.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Very briefly, and following up on your comments, the project applicant for this project has requested a continuance to allow additional time for their team to work with project appellants. The goal is that the issues raised by the appellants will hopefully be addressed through that process. And at such time that the project is ready to come back to the City Council, we would be holding a new public hearing. All of the appellants would be informed of that hearing. A public notice would be circulated, and at that time, staff will provide a detailed staff report and presentation. But at this time, no presentation due to the requested continuance.
Very good. Then I need to have a motion by my City Council colleagues to continue this item.
I'll make a motion to continue the item.
It was moved by Councilmember Sandy Rains.
Second.
And it was seconded by Councilmember Sharma. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. It passes unanimously. Our next public hearing this evening is public hearing item number 2, a comprehensive update to amend zoning provisions that add clarity, refine regulations, streamline, or address current state law. This includes changes to allow for accessory dwelling units, also known as ADUs, and junior accessory dwelling units in conformance with provisions to state law. Community Development Director Orduña, please provide a staff report.
Thank you, Mayor. Contract Planner Amber Gregg will be providing the presentation on this item this evening.
Good evening, Mayor and fellow council members. Amber Gregg, Contract Planner. Thank you so much for having me here tonight. And we're going to be going over the zoning code amendments that the mayor just summarized. So as part of our 2050 strategic plan update, a comprehensive zoning code amendment was identified as one of the implementation measures to address our economic and community development initiatives. The general purpose and intent of the updates are to provide clarification to code regulations, streamline processes, implement industry best practices, and also bring us into consistency with state law. These proposed amendments that are presented before you tonight were reviewed by the Planning Commission last month on June 22nd, and the Planning Commission recommended approval to the City Council unanimously. Along with the code updates that we're presenting, we're also proposing figure updates. So the figure on the left is a good example of what our figures look like in the code today, and the one on the right is an example of what most of them will look like going forward. So as you can tell, they're a lot easier to read, and they have color, so they're a lot more attractive to look at as well. So the proposed amendments provide updates to general code provisions to help facilitate streamlining, not only on an applicant side, but also internally for us as staff in order to improve our processes. And also that some of the changes that we made will help us change over time as ever-changing state laws ebb and flow, and we don't have to update our codes as regularly. We're also providing clarification on various regulations that were either vague or ambiguous, including maintenance requirements. And this is a follow-up to the nuisance comprehensive update that City Council approved last year as well. We're also proposing modifications that reflect current practice or current policy, as well as industry standards and best practices. We're also eliminating sections of the code that are regulated by other local state agencies, such as ADA requirements. ADA is regulated by the California Building Code, so there was no reason for us to be duplicative in our code, only to have to update it. So those were eliminated. Another ordinance before you tonight is for accessory dwelling units. So as you know, new state law passed and went into effect in January 2020 that addressed accessory dwelling units and junior accessory dwelling units, also known as ADUs. And the proposed ordinance will bring the city into compliance with state law. It provides for regulations for those ADUs to be approved ministerially through a building plan check process. And it also provides for review of ADUs that exceed legislative standards to go through an administrative review process, which is also a requirement of state law. So that concludes staff's presentation. Staff recommends that the City Council approve the proposed comprehensive updates to the zoning code and introduce the two ordinances as stated in the staff report. And staff is available to answer any questions.
Thank you very much for your presentation. Before I open the public comments, I wanted to turn it over to my City Council colleagues. I wanted to start from Councilmember Sharma.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Thank you again for the presentation. When I was going through this materials, I noticed that there was a lot of focus paid attention to above ground infrastructure, namely height, size, dimensionality of the property addition, setbacks, slope, encroachment, etc. But one thing that I didn't notice within this code update or zoning update is because these ADUs are going to be potentially housing other individuals, the concern that I'd have is the below ground infrastructure where you're now adding additional drainage, plumbing, connecting to other resources that are there. Where do we see that those issues potentially could be addressed?
So as far as state law goes, it's looked at as an accessory, so that way it's not an accessory use to the existing residential use and not as an additional surcharge on those. Even as far as our impact fee goes, unless an ADU exceeds 750 square feet, it was looked at as an ancillary use according to state law. So we can't even charge impact fees unless they exceed that square footage. So overall, state law actually baked in that we can't look at those types of issues as part of these amendments, and I can turn that over to the city attorney to clarify additionally.
No, I would agree with that. I would just add that the California Building Code also would have infrastructure requirements such as plumbing, drainage, how some of those facilities would be constructed would have to comply with the building code. So when the ADU is constructed, plumbing connections, water connections, cable, and other electricity connections would have to be in compliance with the building code.
I think it's important to keep in mind too that this is not a garage that someone's putting a bathroom in. This is a potential facility that somebody's going to be living in and utilizing resources connecting to the existing infrastructure. So utilization is going to be significantly higher. And my general concern would be that maybe those codes or those regulations don't sufficiently address potential issues that could be occurring.
I would say that the building official, they will still need to apply for a building permit. The building official will review those to make sure that they comply with capacity requirements. in conjunction with the use of the main residential structure. And if they're insufficient, the building official would be able to apply the authority in the building code to make sure that there's adequate capacity. Beyond that, I don't think we from a zoning standpoint, can impose additional requirements. That's because the state law is very preemptive in what we can and cannot regulate when it comes to accessory dwelling units.
Mayor Pro Tem Elaine Genoway.
Okay, thank you, Mayor. So, and just to clarify, because you brought up the question, I didn't have a question before, but just to clarify, so the California Building Code applies to the accessory dwelling unit. So whatever's in the building code applies to the ADUs.
That's correct.
Yeah, that's what I thought. Okay, just wanted to make sure that I had a clear understanding of that, because that's what I, assumed from what I had read in here. And the zoning code is more, I look at it as a lot of the aesthetics of our community, the setbacks, the heights, things like that. And also we're updating it so that we're complying with state law, which we were following previously, but it just hadn't been incorporated into this document.
Right. As you probably noticed, as indicated in the report, any local ordinance not in compliance with the current 2020 state law is null and void. And we have to default to the state standards. So this ordinance puts you in a position of taking the maximum control that you are left with under state law and providing your own local standards to make these particular types of units fit your community as much as we can.
Yeah, I noticed that you said as much local control as we're left with.
Yes,
That's the sore spot. But
Exactly.
no, and I think it's good. This has been our goal as a city, is to streamline these codes, these documents, to bringing up to where they need to be. I had a very extensive review with both the city manager today and with Development Services Manager John Morgan. So I appreciate all your information in answering. And I had many questions, but I am very appreciative of all the work that went into this. So if our residents can see how thick this is and how many versions they gave us, the clean version, the crossed out version on spreadsheets, so we could get the information in any way that we were most comfortable with. So, but thank you for your time on the review. And that's it, Mayor.
Thank you. Councilmember Sandy Rains.
Thank you. My big question on all of this was there's some parking changes that were made, and I did speak with Community Development Director Orduña about it. And just for the public benefit, one of the biggest concerns we always have here is parking. There's not enough parking in the neighborhood, and so there is a change in the parking requirements for multifamily units in here, which reduces the amount of parking. So I was hoping that maybe you could comment a little bit on how it was calculated and what the feedback was that you gave me, so that the public could be aware of that.
Sure. Very briefly, multifamily projects, specifically the larger projects that we see, for example, in the Gateway area, have been extensively studied through the entitlement process. There were individual parking studies conducted for each of those projects, and all of those projects were approved with what is considered a reduced parking ratio that mirrors what we are proposing in the code. That was based off, again, a body of evidence that is it's based on industry standards, on what we've seen regionally, and now that we have a number of years under our belt of observing these specific projects in the city, we can confirm that in fact that ratio of that guest parking ratio that is proposed is not only adequate for those projects. In some instances, it's still on the conservative side. So we feel that we have enough evidence now to put that requirement into the code. And basically what that means is that new projects that come forward, the process will be streamlined. They will be able to rely on the code rather than go through those project-specific studies, because we have established that this is this is an appropriate standard for Laguna Niguel. Now, if a developer were to be looking at something that is even further reduced, to which we were actually seeing in other cities and even Southern California, they would still have to go through that project-specific process. So this is just an acknowledgement of what we've seen works, and trying to cut some of the red tape associated with approving entitlements for projects of that type. It would not affect your single-family detached dwellings. And so I think with regard to, for example, the ADUs that we're talking about, we would not be reducing the parking requirement for those units, as every aspect of the parking required for those projects is still something that we deem as important for the community.
And just a follow-up question, the current existing multifamily units that we have, would they be able to then update to this parking code amendment as well? Or will they still be required based on how they built their multifamily units that already exist in our city?
Sure. I think each individual project was approved subject to certain requirements. We don't have any projects that would benefit from that type of reduction. As I mentioned, they've been baked into the project, so they would continue as is. Some of our older projects that predated the gateway were actually built under county standards, and where we have seen parking issues, it's actually that those standards are significantly lower than what we are proposing right now. So neither those older projects, those county legacy projects, or the newer projects would be affected by this regulation change.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it. That's all.
Thank you. Councilmember Kelly Jennings.
No questions, just a comment. This was a very arduous policy to update. So thank you. I know the time consuming activity, but I appreciate it. And it's much easier to read. So thank you very much for all your efforts and time that you put into it.
Before I open up the public hearing on this item, I wanted to commend the city staff. They've done a superb job. As an engineer, I went through a lot of those numbers, offsets just to make sure, and it's pretty comprehensive and complete. And thank you very much. It's about time for our city, to have this zoning ordinance, because a lot of other cities in California have changed their ordinances because of what the state of California has mandated. We may not be in agreement with what those individuals in Sacramento have imposed upon us as a city, but we are a law-abiding city like 481 other cities, and that's why it's about time to have these revised ordinances. With that, the public hearing is now open to receive testimony from the public regarding zoning code amendments ZCA 21-01 and ZCA 21-02, a comprehensive update to amend zoning provisions that add clarity, refine regulations, streamline, or address current state law. This includes changes to allow for accessory dwelling units, ADUs, and junior accessory dwelling units, JADUs, in conformance with revisions to state law. Madam City Clerk, I presume we have no request to speak
None
on
tonight,
this
Mayor.
item.
No.
Very good. Then the public comments section is closed. I will read staff's recommendation and ask for a motion to approve the following items.
Mayor Miniger, I'm sorry, I just have one point of clarification.
Please.
I apologize. Mayor Pro Tem Genoway this afternoon rightfully pointed out that there was a question that she had on the certificate of occupancy, and it had to do when a certificate of occupancy was required. And as opposed to having that language in there, we're proposing just to defer it to the building code. And so we're proposing to make that change as part of this motion as well.
So the change would be for which
So
of the sub items?
So the change would be for ordinance 2021-210, section 71. And my apologies.
Okay, so when I read it, I'm going to ask our city attorney to amend that language to it. So, item number 1, waive full reading, making any amendments to and introduce ordinance number 2021-2010 by title, ordinance number 2021-210, and ordinance of the City of Laguna Niguel, California, adopting zoning code amendment ZCA 21-01 amending the Laguna Niguel Municipal Code zoning code provisions to provide additional clarity or refined regulations and revisions to be consistent with current state law and making a determination of exemption under SECA. And then, Mr. City Attorney?
Yes, and then Section 71 of this ordinance, and specifically Section 9-1-114.9, subsection B1 is revised to read, any use and occupancy as required by the California Building Code. That concludes the revision. Thank you.
Thank you. And item number 2, waive full reading, making any amendments to and introduce ordinance number 2021-211 by title, an ordinance of the City of Laguna Niguel, California, adopting zoning code amendments ZCA 21-02, amending the Laguna Niguel Municipal Code relating to accessory dwelling units and junior accessory dwelling units consistent with state law and making a determination of exemption under SECA, which is California Environmental Quality Act. And item number 3, direct that the proposed ordinances with any changes to them be placed on the agenda for the August 3rd, 2021 City Council meeting and adopt the ordinances at that meeting. Now, can I have a motion on this?
Okay, so moved.
It was moved by Mayor Pro Tem Elaine Genoway, and it was seconded by Councilmember Sandy Rains. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye, it passes unanimously. Thank you. And our last public hearing this evening is public hearing item number 3, that is adoption of resolution number 2021-1362, the Parks and Recreation Facilities Use Policy for the Sea Country Senior and Community Center to establish and adopt the Parks and Recreation Facility Use Fee Schedule for the Sea Country Senior and Community Center and make a finding of exemption under SECA. Parks and Rec Director Riviera.
Thank you,
Please
Mayor.
provide a staff report.
Thank you, Mayor Minigar and City Council. It's a pleasure to be here tonight. Today, the Parks and Recreation Department is bringing forward for your approval the Fees and Facility Use Policy for the Sea Country Senior Community Center. In 2014, the Parks and Recreation Facilities Use Policy and Fee Schedule was updated. However, no changes have been made to the existing documents since that update. With the pending reopening of Sea Country Senior Community Center due to the COVID-19 pandemic, the recent completion of the fee study, and the consideration of adding fees to rooms that had not been addressed in the earlier fee schedule, staff is bringing forth this item for your consideration. To support the intended use of Sea Country, staff have prepared a formal facilities use policy specific to this facility, a facility use fee schedule that includes rental rates. Developing this fee schedule addresses the core goal of fiscal responsibility in the Laguna Niguel strategic plan. Adoption of the new facilities use policy and related fees will ensure that the city is prepared to allow the public to access the facilities easily and readily. Some of the updates to facility use policy for Sea Country include addition of the sunroom, billiards room, and Aspen room, specific distinction between the Grand Ballroom and Yosemite Ballroom, removal of administrative procedures, revision of general rules and regulations to reflect trends with facility use, user groups are defined more clearly and concisely, reformat the document to be user-friendly and easier to read, added language in the policy that allows the city manager directionary authority to grant exceptions to the policy, provided that exemption is consistent with the goals and purpose of the policy. Changes in nonprofit user group fee category eligibility from 501c3 to all 501c organizations. It also provides recognition of local military groups and access to fee waivers also. The proposed rental fees for Sea Country Senior Community Center have been established to offset the cost of maintenance, staffing, and utilities, and will keep Sea Country facility competitive with similar offerings from local municipalities. It also right-sizes the fees to our very own Crown Valley Community Center. In order to officially establish these fees, a resolution must be adopted by a city council. Resolution number 2021-1362 is attached to this report for your consideration. At this time, staff is recommending the city council hold a public hearing and provide public testimony on the agenda item and consider adoption of resolution number 2021-1362, adopting the Parks and Recreation Facilities Use Policy for the Sea Country Senior Community Center, establishing and adopting the Parks and Recreation Facility Use Fee Schedule for the Sea Country Senior Community Center, and making a fine exemption from CEQA. That's my report for tonight. I'm happy to answer any questions you may have.
Thank you very much for your report. I wanted to ask my city council colleagues if they have any questions. I start off with Councilmember Kelly Jennings.
I have a couple questions. When somebody rents our space, do they sign a liability waiver? Because I see here that insurance may be required, but it's may not be for some different groups, I'm sure. So who wouldn't hold?
So the majority of our local nonprofits and groups that use our center already have a liability form on file or insurance on file. Anyone renting the facility for an event must provide insurance as well too, depending on the event level. If they have alcohol, different levels of insurance are required.
Okay.
So it's part of the facility process as they onboard for the rental.
Awesome. And is there a form that they sign? And
Correct.
Wonderful. And then do you have a designated person that opens and closes up and cleans up after they're done?
Absolutely. Our recreation coordinators are assigned to each facility.
Okay.
As a person who rents the facility, they'll be designated a staff lead for the day, which will open up the facility for them and close out the facility for them as well.
Perfect. Thank you very much.
Any other questions?
Comment.
Well, Councilmember Sandy Raines, no questions?
I have a comment.
I was surprised.
Well, we had already discussed a lot of these in our when we were working on this. I'm just really excited to see that we're finally open and we're renting the space out, and that our nonprofits are able to start using the thing. The question that I had was, if a nonprofit meets on a regular basis, in the past they weren't able to reserve a space at the same time every month for ongoing meetings. I don't know if I saw that anywhere in here. Is that going to be something that they can continue to do, or is it they have to rent it month by month?
At one point we were doing up to 3 months at a time.
Okay.
That opens up availability of city use as well too.
So that is going to continue that policy. So they can't count on having their meeting there every single month on a regular basis then.
It also depends on day of the week as well too.
On the day of the week. Okay. And then other than that, this is an exciting time for us because we're officially reopened, and now I'm sure you're getting lots of reservations, right?
We do. We actually already have 8 for 8 in August over at Sea Country, another 11 and 12 over at Grand Valley Community Center for August already.
Thank you so much for all your work on this.
Thank you. Mayor Pro Tem Elaine Genoway.
Thank you, Mayor. And thank you, Director Rivera, for bringing this forward to us. I know it's been a labor of love. But we're all excited to see the Senior Center and Community Center opening, and this brings some consistency with policy between this and Crown Valley Community Center. And I've gone over this quite a bit, and I know we've talked about it over the months, but I just want to point out and commend you for making that change in here from the eligibility for the nonprofits, changing it from a 501c3 to 501c. Because there are organizations in our city that when you get that letter from the IRS, it tells you which C you are, and some of our educational organizations are 501c4, and that's always been a little hiccup for them. So I appreciate your just recognizing 501c. Thank you.
Councilmember Sharma.
Just briefly, I wanted to acknowledge the differential pricing for Laguna Niguel residents and businesses versus non-Laguna Niguel residents. So thank you for including that in there.
Just before I open the public hearing on this item, I'm very pleased with what you have prepared, and I wanted to commend the staff. As Councilmember Sandy Raines mentioned, we are very, very excited to see our beautiful community center to be fully open to our great citizens. With that, the public hearing is now open to receive testimony from the public regarding the adoption of resolution number 2021-1362, the Parks and Recreation Facilities Use Policy for the Sea Country Senior and Community Center, to establish and adopt the Parks and Recreation Facility Use Fee schedule for the Sea Country Senior and Community Center, and make a finding of exemption under SECO. Can I have a motion to consider adoption of resolution number 2021-1362, adopting the Parks and Recreation Facilities Use Policy for the Sea Country Senior and Community Center, and establish and adopt the Parks and Recreation Facility Use Fee Schedule for the Sea Country Senior and Community Center, and make a finding of exemption under CEQA, please.
I'll
Mr.
move.
Mayor, just to
Oh,
clarify, I think we still have a public hearing component, so we need to make sure there's no public comments.
yes,
I presume there are none because,
there are no public comments and you can close the public hearing.
very good. The public hearing is officially closed.
I'll move the motion.
Now, so it was moved by,
Kelly, Denny?
You actually have to reread the whole thing again.
No.
No, for the record, I understand the motion is to approve the mayor's motion.
yes. So do I have the motion?
Councilmember Jennings made the motion.
made the
Okay, so it was, the motion was moved by Councilmember Kelly Jennings and seconded by
Seconded.
Mayor Pro Tem Elaine Genoway. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye, it passes unanimously. That concludes our public hearings. We will now move on to discussion item number 1 for the use of electric bicycles on city trails and sidewalks. I will ask our police chief, Captain Asuncion, to please provide a staff report.
Before I begin here, I just want to thank the city staff, especially Kevin O'Connor, for helping me do some research and prepare this report and presentation for everyone here. So good evening, Mayor and members of City Council. During the City Council meeting held on June 1st, 2020, the City Council directed staff to bring forth an item that would create action steps to address the topic of electric bicycles on city trails and sidewalks. In 2013, California passed Assembly Bill AB 1096, amending the vehicle code as it relates to the definition of motorized bicycles. AB 1096 defines an electric bicycle as a bicycle that is fully operable by pedal and contains an electric motor of fewer than 750 watts. There are 3 types of electric bicycles. Class 1, a bicycle equipped with a motor that provides assistance only when the rider is pedaling, and it ceases to provide assistance when the bicycle reaches a top speed of 20 miles per hour. Class 2, a bicycle equipped with a motor that may be used exclusively to propel the bicycle and that is not capable of providing assistance when the bicycle reaches the speed of 20 miles per hour. And Class 3, a bicycle equipped with a motor that provides assistance only when the rider is pedaling and ceases to provide assistance when the bicycle reaches a top speed of 28 miles per hour, and it is equipped with a speedometer. Residents have voiced their concern for public safety, as many riders are traveling at excessive speeds, in some cases at an excess of 20 miles per hour on city sidewalks. The Laguna Niguel Municipal Code provides that bicycles, including electric bicycles, may be operated on the sidewalk at a speed not to exceed 5 miles per hour. Residents have also voiced their concern for the safety of adolescent riders who are not wearing a helmet and are traveling at high speeds. Under the California Vehicle Code, a Class 3 electric bicycle shall not be operated on a bicycle path or trail unless it is within or adjacent to a roadway. Furthermore, the California Vehicle Code states that no person under 16 years of age shall operate a Class 3 electric bicycle. All individuals must wear a properly fitted and fastened bicycle helmet while operating a Class 3 electric bicycle. People under 18 years of age must wear a helmet regardless of the type of electric bicycle. Police services, in conjunction with the city staff, have been working to create actionable solutions to ensure the public's safety. Our goal is education first. Electric bicycles are a growing hobby, which is fairly new in our great city. Parents are purchasing these new bikes for their children, and there is very little to no education on e-bikes. Developing and implementing an electric bicycle action plan supports goal number 1, public safety, and goal number 6, communication and community outreach of the city's adopted strategic plan. Staff recommends the following actions to be taken and/or continued. Police Services is going to utilize packed volunteers and the Orange County Sheriff's Reserve Bureau to patrol city trails on bikes. The goal for the packed volunteers and the Reserve Bureau is to educate residents about the appropriate and legal use of city trails when operating an electric bicycle. By utilizing police services volunteers, the first phase of an education-first approach will provide residents and the community members with the ability to correct unsafe behavior. Measures that have already been taken include deploying electronic message boards throughout the community to educate and caution residents on bike safety. Message boards have been displayed at Marina Hills Drive, Chaparosa Park, and Salt Creek Trailhead off Niguel Road. As the city's #1 priority is public safety, staff recommends that electronic message boards continue to be deployed in other parts of the city as needed. Police services will be implementing a free voluntary bicycle registration program to maintain a record of brand, model, and serial numbers of bicycles and their registered owners. This will be helpful if the bike is stolen or missing. Police services will also provide guidance on e-bike safety and rules during these interactions. Community members may visit police services with their bike information or complete an online form on the city's website under Public Safety. To educate the public on the issue, staff has created a webpage on the city's website to focus on the use of electric bicycles throughout the city. The webpage includes information about different types of electric bicycles, where they are permitted for use, requirements for minors, and more. The webpage includes a form for community members to provide feedback to the city on areas they believe need additional educational outreach or patrol. This information will allow the city to best address the issue through community feedback and allocate resources effectively, including the placement of electronic message boards. A trifold educational pamphlet is also being created for the volunteers to distribute at community events and during electric bicycle interactions. Additionally, a social media outreach campaign by the Laguna Niguel Police Services will also assist in extending community education and communication efforts. The webpage currently includes a video of deputies discussing bicycle safety tips. Recently, I have been personally attending neighborhood watch meetings and addressing their questions and concerns about their community. I implore our residents to talk to their neighbors, contact police services, and set up a meeting. At these meetings, I provide city updates, crime trends throughout the county and our city, and crime prevention strategies to help prevent our residents from being a victim. I will continue my efforts and add e-bike education as part of my agenda to bring awareness in our community. Also, as part of our Adopt a School program, police services will talk to school administrators, students, and the parent, teachers, student associations to educate on e-bike safety and rules to ensure we promote safety and prevent accidents. I will also contact the Capistrano Unified School District to collaborate with any communication and messaging to their staff and students. We understand the concerns of our community, and we want to educate first before we start looking at punitive options. This concludes my presentation. Staff's recommendation is to approve the Electric Bicycle Action Plan, and I would be happy to answer any questions that you may have.
Thank you very much, Chief Asuncion, for your comprehensive report. Just for those residents that are watching us, would you please repeat the website address for the parents and individuals?
If we go on our main city website under Police Services Public Safety, they will be able to see the e-bike or electronic bicycle information there.
Very good. Thank you very much. I wanted to turn it over to my city council colleagues for any questions or comments. Okay, Council Member Kelly Jennings.
Thank you for this comprehensive outline. I appreciate it, and the presentation that you gave and all the research you guys have done. I know this is an issue with our residents. I hear a lot from really the kiddos that are riding the electric bikes, because they're just driving like crazy. So I appreciate the education first portion before having punitive, because we want that friendly relationship. So I really appreciate that. But public safety is very important, so thank you for that. One comment on the educational pamphlet, can we also include those to be given out at bicycle shops, like where they sell them, see if the store owners will allow that to be there, just so they understand what our rules are in our city and how we can educate.
Not a problem. We'll definitely contact our business watch coordinator and try to set that up.
Thank you so much, Chief. I appreciate it.
Mayor Pro Tem Elaine Genoway?
Thank you, Mayor. Oh, look
No,
like-
no.
Okay. Okay, well, thank you for bringing this action plan to us. And I love the fact that what is proposed is in line with the city's policy and practice of education first. That's really important. And it's, keeping top of mind the safety of our residents. One of my concerns is, since this is already such a problem in the city, I feel a little bit like we're running after the train, or the bike in this case has already left the station, and we're trying to catch up. So while the plan does have maybe a reassessment in early 2022, I would ask that when this is being implemented, that it be monitored all along the way, and if anything needs to be brought back to us or anything added to the plan, that we not wait until early 2022, because that's 5 or 6 months from now. We should monitor the effectiveness from the onset, and not hesitate to make any changes needed for the safety of all of our residents, all of the cyclists, the walkers, the drivers. I had a gentleman driving his electric bike in front of me right in the middle of Rancho Niguel Road. It's like he thought he was a car, so that slowed everybody down. But I do have a couple of questions and comments, and I noticed that we're using both reserve deputies and PAC volunteers. So are their bikes electric or not electric?
They are electric.
They are using electric bikes. Okay. And then for the PAC volunteers, what kind of training or certification do they receive before they're put on a bike?
I love that question because I do have a training background. So prior to any of our PAC members getting on the bicycle, they go through extensive training. So they go 2 hours of training with a one-on-one, actually it's 2-on-1 with a instructor from actually one of the local bike shops, as well as going through our personal training with one of our supervisors on the expectations of what police services is and what the city deserves. So they go through a total of 3 hours training even before they get to hit the road.
Okay, great. So glad to hear that. I knew you wouldn't let me down on that. Okay. Also, the message boards, I know that we use them a lot for traffic and loud mufflers and speeding, and I'm a little concerned that there might be some message board fatigue, and I know that's why we move them around. And a lot of the riders that we're trying to target with this safety message are the youth. So what I suggest is maybe some phrasing to attract their attention. And you may want to ask some of our youth committee members. They have great social media outreach, and what phrases and what should we put on the message board so you and your friends take notice and see that message. So that's just an idea. And then the public communications outreach with the schools. I think this is key because this is who we're trying to get to. And it's both for the students and the parents, because parents or grandparents may be buying these bikes and not realizing the difference between the class 1, 2, or 3 and the different requirements and the different power that's in them. And so I think it's important that there be an education process with this. Now, our school soon will be having registration packet pickup days. So that might be a good time for for police services to be out at the middle schools or the high schools with a display, or even doing some bike registration there, because that's when they're coming through to pick up their registration packets. You can coordinate also with the school district to get messages out on what they call their listserv, and those are emails that go out to all the parents. And then maybe have some informational outreach tables at back to school nights, because those will be coming up in September. And again, we're educating the parents and the students. And you may want to speak to Director Rivera on an upcoming junior civic workshop where we're going to be talking about bike safety. So
Perfect timing.
I know, perfect. And then also, as Councilmember Jennings had suggested, the brochures at the place of sale, because we really need to make sure that people are educated on what they're buying, and that there are, it is regulated by law. And but also, in addition to the brochures, maybe even we could make up some signs to put there too, just putting the web page that you want them to go to then get access to this information, because paper is going to be, brochures will be taken out before you can get back there and refill. So, but I think this, it's key, educating our community. And electric bikes are exciting, but we need to let people know about, exactly what they are and keep them safe. So thank you. Thank you, Mayor.
Councilmember Sandy Rains.
Thank you very much. So as an avid e-bike rider, I've met you many times on my e-bike, one of the things that I know that we're really focusing here on the youth, but there is some potential reasons why, and I've talked to Public Works Director about this, why we may be having some of the sidewalk riders. First of all, we don't have right-of-ways on all of our roads where when you're riding the bike on the road and following the rules of the road, the bike lanes abruptly stop. And there's no warning, there's no signage that lets you know. So a lot of times you're popping onto a sidewalk or even somebody's neighborhood, or you're going on the road because there is no bike lane for you to be on. The other thing that's not safe is that when you're going down a bike lane and you're coming to an intersection, and let's say you're wanting to not turn because you want to go straight, you can't stay in the far right part of the lane where the bike lane is. It automatically switches over and has you cross traffic to get in the lane over here, which is extremely dangerous on the road. So when we're talking about bike safety, we also need to be talking about the road safety, not just our trails and our sidewalks. And people are getting on sidewalks because our roads are not manned appropriately. Now, I know during the past year and a half, the e-bike craze got elevated and everybody went out and bought a bike. But it's important to mention that somebody who's an avid cyclist can go up to 40 miles an hour without a motor. So there could be bikes on the road that are going that fast that aren't even motorized. So we need to make sure that we're paying attention to who's out there. Obviously, those are avid bike riders, professionals. They are more aware of what they're doing on the road, but there still is that danger that is in our city. And as we're thinking about moving forward, we need to kind of start reviewing our road plans and seeing how we can move forward into the future, because I don't think as people are starting to reduce the amount of cars maybe they're driving and converting to different ways of transportation, we do need to be prepared for it. I think I agree with Mayor Pro Tem Genoway when she said we're behind the cycle here, right? So we need to catch up, and we probably need to do it sooner, not later. So I'd like to see something added into this action plan, something more with signage that also addresses the roads and the safety of the roads, because that's probably bringing on your sidewalk traffic. The other thing I want to mention is on our trails, I've ridden on them a lot, and I'll ring my bell. I even call out. People have their earbuds in and they cannot hear. So there needs to be an educational process also for the walkers and the joggers, that they need to pay attention, because the biker can, ring their bell, slow down, but if you can't hear, the warning doesn't do you any good. I've had that happen several times. So that needs to be a part of the safety workshop, is educating non-bikers to understand that we need to all share the road. We all choose to use it different ways, whether we're walking, biking, or jogging. So I think that's another thing. I know that you're going to do some safety outreaches and stuff, but I'd love to see us adopt some type of a safety workshop, even maybe on an annual basis, and that could be a great time when everybody comes and registers their bikes, and also gets some, like a certificate for finishing a safety workshop. I think that would be a great way for us to really move into this e-bike world, but also to provide the information that we need to provide to everyone. So we want to keep our youth safe, but we also have a lot of avid bikers that are not youth, and they understand the rules of the road. So with that being said, I think we need to look at the combination of both of those safety issues. And those are my comments. Those are my suggestions and what I'd like to see added to the action plan. Thank you.
Councilmember Sharma?
Well, I knew it would happen someday where I would become part of the fun police, and here I am. The initial comments, and not to reiterate or be redundant here in commentary, but the message boards, while I think are a good idea, I think, as Mayor Pro Tem Genoway has pointed out, the messaging can get lost sometimes. And one of the things that we want to try to avoid in our city is the cluttering of what we're messaging and where that messaging is happening. As Councilmember Jennings has pointed out, one of the thoughts that occurred to me as I was listening to your presentation as well is it would probably be very helpful to include those brochures at repair shops and purchase shops. I would also include a distribution or a conversation of distribution with the PTA, because these are the parents that are engaging the schools and the students. Beyond that, just a point of clarification as far as the ability for somebody to travel high speeds. I think these e-bikes have given individuals the ability to travel further distances at high speeds than they would normally be able to do themselves. And one of the problems with technology is you're usually not aware of the problems it's going to create until they've been created, and then you find yourself catching up. So while this is a great initial step, as Mayor Pro Tem Genoway has pointed out, I'd like to continue the process of evaluation. And if we've got to get to the point where we have to set speed regulations on trails to mirror what we've done on our sidewalks, I think that might be a necessary step as well. Finally, please, if you're a pedestrian, be aware of your surroundings. I think there's common information out there about being in red time, yellow time, or white time. And unfortunately, most of us are in white time where we're completely unaware of our surroundings at all moments of the day. So if you're out in public and you're in a community setting, please kind of migrate to yellow time. Be aware. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I wanted to thank my city council colleagues for their inputs. I have just a couple of final thoughts, which I wanted to ask our Public Works Director, Jackie Scott. And the first one is that in conjunction with ATP and Safe Routes to School, federal and state, are you planning to prepare some kind of master plan for the e-bike system in our city, so that I know what we are going to be approving tonight is only an action plan, but I'm referring to a master plan. So with that said, where do we stand on that?
Thank you, Mayor, for inquiring about that. Currently, our bikeways plan is part of our circulation element in our general plan. I believe that the general plan will be under some kind of review and amendment process through the Community Development Department. So Public Works will most certainly participate in that process to make sure that document is brought current and up to date. Additionally, we are in the process of engaging through the LRSP, the Local Roadway Safety Plan process. We've had multiple stakeholder meetings. We've been looking at the statistics related to incidents in the city roadways, automobile accidents, pedestrian incidents, as well as bike accidents. And a component of the recommendations that will be coming forward to the Traffic and Transportation Commission here in the near future will include some additional measures that we recommend that the city adopt as part of improving the bikeway safety on our roadways through that process.
So to go back to what you said about the bikeway safety, as you know, the state is the same. California is in compliance of the federal. Within the last 5 years that you're going to go to Tim's, which is UC Berkeley's website for sweaters reports, correct? So the city's consultants is going to be looking at the past 5 years of the traffic collisions, specifically for this discussion would be with regard to bikes.
You are correct. We are using the SWITRS data. I believe the SWITRS data goes through 2019, which is
right,
pre-pandemic.
Now is December 31st, 2019. That is correct.
So as the data becomes current and available, the most current data will be used in the study as part of the recommendations.
So then it is my understanding that once the Community Development Department would be finalizing the general plan, that circulation element, item number 16, would have a master plan of the e-bikes as well.
I'm sorry, the Bikeway Master Plan is part of the circulation
No,
element.
it is. I'm referring to e-bikes.
So the e-bikes would be something new that would be added in. The last update did not have anything regarding
Right, right.
e-bikes, but it certainly, I would defer to Director Orduña for how that would be added into the new Bikeway Master Plan for the city.
Just to follow up on what Director Scott was saying, I think that's exactly right. We're actually already having conversations about the circulation element and specifically looking at the bikeway plan, looking at trails, looking at right-of-ways, what can be done to retrofit our existing infrastructure to maximize multi-use. So that's certainly something that we'll be looking at early on in the general plan update process in coordination with the Public Works Department.
Sure. Councilmember Sandy Rains?
I just had another question. I'm not a traffic engineer, but I was, as Mayor Miniger was talking, I was just thinking, and then I heard you say retrofit, Director Orduña. So would that be, we could actually comprehensively look at that with our general plan update to really retrofit even the roadways the way they are now so that we could address some of the issues that we're having with the crossovers and the bike lanes and stuff? Is that something that's doable?
My understanding is that there are certain things that can be done in the near term, and the general plan it's more conceptual, it's bigger picture, and there'll probably be a call for certain implementation measures that would go even further, but they're a couple different categories. So you have things that can be done immediately. Some of those things I think Dr. Scott could speak to, and we've discussed those in the past. There are other things that you start with the big picture and then you have implementation measures, but those are usually bigger ticket items that would need to be brought to the city council for
Actually,
approval.
if I may interject to answer Councilmember Sandy Rains, she's talking about gap closures. There are specific studies that this is outside of what general plan is going to be providing us. Maybe we have to entertain some kind of study for the whole city with regard to bike lanes where we have gaps and what are we going to be doing about gap closures so that we have a continuous system that if somebody would start biking from Camino de la Viana and Crown Valley, then that person can go all the way to the destination. If there's any gaps, the person ought to know with the proper signage that, okay, the bike lane is going to be closed, so I have to have some kind of, option before I start my biking.
Yes, I concur with what you're saying, Mayor. And in the city of Laguna Niguel, we're very fortunate. Most of our major arterials are already striped with on-street bike lanes, and there's many off-street trails that are available to users as well. In order to look at the city in a comprehensive way, there are many streets that there's a lot of users that want to use the road, and there's a limited amount of pavement. So we would have to study that to see what the current standards require and how much room is available to be adding in bike facilities in the existing right-of-way. And that is something we could do in a comprehensive way in a future year CIP that we would, or study that we would implement in the Public Works Department.
Right, your points are well taken. Not to prolong this discussion, it's a separate study. It's not going to be a part of the general plan. What I'm trying to interject.
No, I understand. That's
Okay.
why I was asking for clarification. So that would be something that we could direct for our next CIP project. Is that correct?
Or part of a strategic plan update, or
Okay.
within the next operating budget where that we adopt can have a work plan of that nature. in the
I'm
Public
just going to
Works Department.
switch gears now and ask City Manager Letourneau then. We did receive quite a bit of rescue bill money, and the increase of these bikes has happened during COVID. Could you check into seeing if some of that money could be used towards a study like this so that we could get ahead of the game instead of waiting to prolong it any longer?
Yes, we can look into that and
Thank
present
you.
it as part of the next CIP budget next year.
Perfect. Thank you.
Very good. So before us tonight is just the approval of the action plan for the electric bicycles. Can I have a motion?
Make a motion.
The motion.
It's all right. It's okay.
Oh,
No, he can do it because
No,
he
no,
put it.
She's the avid bicyclist.
no,
bicyclist,
she
so
is, but
It's all right. I'll make the motion. Thank you.
you can second. Okay, the motion was moved by Councilmember Sharma and it was seconded by Councilmember Sandy Rains. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
The motion moves and it gets approved unanimously. Very good. With that, now we are getting into city council reports, and I wanted to start with Councilmember Kelly Jennings.
Thank you very much. I'll be brief. We've had a fun start of our summer, so thank you very much, Parks and Rec. Director, I really appreciate all you've done. We had a great time at the road trip through USA, the patriotic drive-through. That was really fun. And the 4th of July concert was so much fun. That band was awesome. So thank you. Bring them back because they were fantastic. I also attended the Laguna Niguel and Dana Point Joint Chamber Governmental Affairs and Community Relations meeting, where we heard from the Capitol Superintendent, Kristen, talking about what the next year is going to look like for our teachers and our students and coming back, which is fantastic to have them back in our classrooms. We also had several ribbon cuttings for new businesses in our city, which is always exciting. Last Saturday, the Pacific Symphony Quartet performed at the Crown Valley Park, which was spectacular. They were there for an hour, and the music was wonderful, and they did a really great job. So thank you for having them there. That was wonderful. And then I'm looking forward to our upcoming events, our movie Under the Stars on Saturday, our summer senior social next Thursday, our summer concert next Friday, which will be really fun, and Sea Country Senior Center reopens on Monday, August 2nd, so right around the corner. So thank you for all of your hard work, and really appreciate all the fun times that we're having this summer.
Councilmember Sandy Rains.
Thank you very much. It's I can't believe it's almost the end of July, but we've had all these wonderful celebrations, as Councilmember Jennings just mentioned. And only thing that I wanted to say is I had the privilege and opportunity to attend our Chamber of Commerce Health and Wellness Expo on Saturday. It was a great event with a lot of our local businesses there, showcasing what they are able to do for us. And I'm just real appreciative that I had that opportunity to spend some time with our local businesses and hear what they're doing in our community. So business is growing, and we are still business friendly. So people are excited to be here. And that's all I have for tonight. Thank you.
Councilmember Sharma.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. OC Vector is launching and has launched a mosquito abatement program throughout Orange County and then multiple cities, mostly to deal with the proliferation of invasive disease-carrying mosquitoes. I'd encourage all residents to visit ocvector.org to get an update as to the programs and the science that's going behind it. Further, I want to send a thank you to the Chamber of Commerce and specifically Assembly Person Lori Davies for their presentation this morning on the different Assembly bills that are coming out, Senate bills that are coming out. Specifically, I want everybody to pay attention to SB 9. You know, as been pointed out throughout the presentation this evening, Sacramento is coming after our residential communities, and this is a mirror image of what they would like to see Laguna Niguel become, which is not Laguna Niguel. It's more Los Angeles. So please, your voices need to be heard, and you need to be reaching out as frequently as possible. Next, I want to congratulate the Chamber on a successful Health and Wellness Expo over the weekend. Personally, it was fun to see everybody out there again, being sociable and engaging and able to shake hands and say hello with one another. Thank you to the businesses that participated in that. Congratulations to Michelle Endo, the new Mucho Mucho Market over on Crown Valley Parkway. And we had a grand opening there this last weekend. It was a lot of fun and very enjoyable atmosphere, and they have phenomenal produce there. So if you haven't taken a chance to stop by and support our business, please do so. Finally, if I believe City Manager Turno, if you could present this on the screen, I want to congratulate the Military Support Committee on all their work. The volunteers have been working diligently over a very challenging time the last year. As part of our commitment to elevate the identity and image of the community. In our recent meetings, we approved a new logo that we will begin using on all marketing and fundraising materials. I'll wait here until we get it up. Go. This isn't it. This is the city logo. It's coming. There we go. The new logo establishes who we are as a committee. The Latin phrasing, you know, we had a presentation for an English teacher tonight. My grandmother was a Latin and English teacher, so I have a fondness for Latin, but the Latin phrasing actus per verba literally is translated actions over words. When you apply for the Military Support Committee, it's often said this is the most active committee in the community, and we do a lot of work as a volunteer group. So this embraces everything that we are as an organization. I want to congratulate the committee on the approval of the new logo and the new imagery going forward. Thank you.
Thank you. Mayor Pro Tem Elaine Genoway.
Thank you, Mayor. So in addition to all the other activities that everyone's already mentioned, I had the opportunity to tour Heroes Landing, and Councilmember Raines was there as well. And Heroes Landing is it was built by Jamboree Housing, and it's a housing facility for the homeless to transition them off the street and to help with job skills, to help get them into market housing, and some will stay there for quite a while. But it's a perfect example of what transitional housing looks like with wraparound services in the building. So there's 74 units for 74 who were previously homeless veterans. This is all veterans. But in the building are the offices for the different veteran affairs resources and for the mental health counseling and doctors, and whatever they need is all in the building. So they're getting the services that they need where they live. So it's a beautiful facility. But what I think was even better or more impactful than the look of this pretty new, beautiful new building was the services are there, and they're there to help those homeless veterans. And there were success stories of some of them able to find a job and then move out into market priced housing. So, or to move to a different community where they found some employment. But it's a great example of what can be done on a regional basis. I also want to talk to you about one of the committee meetings I was at within the last couple of weeks. So you hear us talk about different organizations that we represent the city at. Mayor talks about the Southern California Association of Governments or the Orange County Organization of Governments. And I refer to ACCOC, the Association of California Cities, Orange County. So in addition to legislation, there's also a finance committee where we look at the finances of the cities and the legislation in Sacramento and how it's affecting the finances. We spend a lot of time looking at the pension liability, and also there's some legislation in Sacramento now regarding the allowable investments for pensions, and they want to do to invest in some private investments, but there's no transparency in that because they want to keep certain information from the public. But one of the interesting presentations we had, and I want to kind of help the residents here connect the dots, it was from HDL, which we contract with, and to provide us with sales tax information. So to put this in context, about 25% of our city's revenue is derived from sales tax. So do you remember a couple of years ago in 2018, there was the Wayfair decision by this Supreme Court, and that said for out-of-state online sales, the sales tax is remitted to a county pool, in this case, Orange County, and then it's distributed, and we receive our allocation from that sales tax pool. But now what has happened is Amazon, and I'll talk about Amazon, has changed their business structure. So the warehouses where the order was received were owned by an out-of-state third-party Amazon company. Now they've changed their structure, so those warehouses are owned by a company domiciled in California. So where they received that order at these three main warehouses, not in Laguna Niguel, but in Northern California, they received the sales tax revenue. And so that's going to affect, eventually it's going to trickle down so that out-of-state sales tax revenue we used to get will not be coming to the county pool and thereby to the cities. So then I asked, well, what about Walmart? We have a big Walmart here in Laguna Niguel, and we think, okay, we're shopping online. We have a Walmart here. We're getting the sales tax revenue. Walmart also recently went to that same structure. So now all the sales tax revenue from online sales there go to the city of San Bruno because it's where they are where they consider the end point where they're receiving that sale. So this is an important issue, and it requires legislation. It requires work by the California State Legislature to amend the tax code. Because again, 25% of our revenue is from sales tax. So we need to protect that sales tax base. So I've contacted our state legislators to make them aware of this change, because this is all recent as far as how these businesses have been structured and where that sales tax is being credited to. So I'm bringing their attention to it, and also to talk to them about how we can start working on this together. So while we work on this, I encourage all of our residents to go out to brick and mortar stores to shop. Get back out there, see people, say hello, smile, shop, and keep the sales tax in Laguna Niguel. Thank you, Mayor.
Very good. Since it's almost 9 p.m., I just want to keep it short to the point. Since our last city council meeting, I have proudly represented the city of Laguna Niguel in over 17 formal city, county, and regional meetings and functions. With that, I don't want to be talking for another hour, so I want to turn it over to our city manager, Tammy Letourneau.
Thank you, Mayor. I have an update this evening for you and for the community on our slurry seal program. The slurry seal program zones 1 and 2 project started on June 28th, and the work was halted on July 7th due to poor workmanship on some of the residential streets. Since July 7th, the contractor has recalibrated their slurry application trucks, including removing 2 trucks from service. The contractor also began using some new materials, which we tested. Those test strips were put on El Lazo to demonstrate their improved workmanship and how the new materials performed, and it has passed inspection. The city has inspected all of the completed streets to date and has compiled a list of the streets that require re-slurry and require repairs or patching. The areas that need to be redone and or repaired will be prioritized once the project resumes, which will be later this week. Additionally, the city has added 2 additional inspectors to the project to further address issues immediately in the field. When the project resumes, there will be hand sweeping of each street in addition to the street sweeper to ensure that all the small aggregate from the shedding from the slurry will be removed promptly. City staff has been in contact with the residents impacted. Neighborhood A-frame signs have been placed in these neighborhoods that include our phone number, our email address, and a QR code to direct everyone to the website, which is updated daily with project information. If there's any questions regarding this project, please contact 949-204-3104. And that concludes my update.
Thank you very much, Madam City Manager. As you may know, I have bugged you quite a few times on the same issue because I was getting bombarded with emails and phone calls. I had to go to the locations, specifically El Pepino, El Manzano, that some of those residents called me. They wanted to just walk with me to see the quality of work. I appreciate for the prompt action by the city. It's a critical matter for the residents, and I do empathize, I do sympathize with them. And in this remarkable city, we expect first-class services from our construction contractors, and this should be the #1 priority. And I appreciate for taking, again, a swift action on that.
Absolutely. I can assure you and everyone that every issue will be resolved. We will not leave any mistakes out there.
Very good. With that, we are now adjourned at 9:03. Thank you and stay well, Laguna Niguel.